Well, hello, everybody. Hi, it's Ed Parcaut, Aces53. Brian's not here today. He's having his internet updated. And because he was having issues on his side, I have had issues on my side, had router replaced. I don't want to complain. I was all going to do a whole amazing show today about, about this, be about consumers saying no, how to get around it. But then I've been on the phone with my provider, and I'm kind of really irritated with the customer service that I've received with the company I'm dealing with currently. I reached out to a different company yesterday, AT&T. I'll just say so. I'm at Comcast. Had no issue up to this point, but now I find we have amazing download, but the upload is just stuck at my area at the very lowest you can, and it's not enough for the video we do now. 2.5 years ago when I first came here, it was fine because of how we did our business. Our business has evolved. However, they have not. And I'm in an advanced section, I guess, of their company where because of our phone systems and everything else. And so you can only deal with one person and you can't call them. They're only an out call. I've been dealing with this for weeks and it's getting irritating. And so I'm going to do a little thing on customer service today. Brian will be back next Tuesday, or he might pop in if his stuff gets done while I'm still on. But I found out that another service provider, AT&T, brought high fiber optic to the building in November. They've hit me up. It didn't have an issue, but we've had major issues lately when we're trying to do lives and other thing where I'm at, freezing and everybody else is having issues and it's my side. And so I'm tired of it. I don't, that's, we do video to do amazing video. And that's what we're here for. We're here to help, get our point across, help you learn about what we're talking about. It's important that you understand what we're talking about. And so today is a little about customer service. And I started thinking about what I was dealing with from them and how that could be what some of my clients might be feeling with me. I'm not saying it's happening, but you just never know. We don't always, I think there's parts of our business that we don't always look at as much as we should look at. So I'm gonna go back. So the other company I spoke to yesterday, AT&T, spoke to the person, got it done. They're coming out here on the 18th. It was quick. I'm still dealing with my current provider who is now having issues, taking forever to do this. And so what I'm getting at is on customer service. Existing customers need just as much service as the new customers. And I think that's what sometimes we lose is how much we focus on the new customers and not enough on our old customers. The question is, have you been, as a salesperson, you should be calling your past clients on a weekly basis. I mean, not the same client every week, but you understand what I mean. You should be talking to them because that's how they're happy with you. You've done an amazing job with them. Hopefully you have. And they're a raving fan, and that's who you have. Get the book, Raving Fan. You want that from your clients so that and then you want to speak to them on a regular basis. I got myself, I'm set up, they're getting hit multiple times a month. And then I talk to them, birthdays, anniversaries. One of the things is somebody I know would send a video on their birthday to them saying happy birthday, blah, blah, blah. But they don't understand it's the same video. He just doesn't say their name in it so that they're able to just send it out real quick for him. There's so much you can do today to stay connected with your past clients because that's where the list that you have that you build is worth so much money. I know I'm kind of a little all over jumping around a little bit, but it's just because of what I've been dealing with this morning with my internet and trying to get it fixed and the customer service that we had lack of. And I think a lot of it has to do with everything went so automated and we over, there's inconsistency in certain quality across all channels of people's customer service. We rely too much on automation. And the other thing is we fail to adapt to our customers' expectations and preferences. What I mean by that is I started thinking about that in my business. And if you don't know, I run a mortgage company. I do mortgage loans. During 2020 and 2021, when we were refinancing, not me personally, but our industry, $10 trillion, in mortgages, we all had pretty much set up assembly lines for the way that we touched the loan all the way through the process, so that one person did so much of the process, not one person handled the whole thing. And it was the best way to do it at that time. But that's not necessarily the way to do it today. And that's what you should look at, is look at your business. That's kind of all I want to go over today, is look at your customer service and how you're dealing with your clients, and see if there's a better way to deal with your clients. Look at it, tear it apart. Oh, look who just showed up here. Come on in, son.
Hey, they just left. So
all right. So I was talking about customer service because I've been dealing with my provider today. Yesterday, I talked to a different provider, which was AT&T. They brought fiber optic to the building. They're like, okay, we have 300, 300, 500, 500, and a gig up and down. I talked to my provider. They're like, you're a 900 down, and your max in your area is 39 up.
So that's what they just got done installing it. They're like, hey, gigabit speeds. I'm like, cool. I ran the speed test, and they're like, oh yeah, you won't get higher than 40 on up. I'm like, okay,
that's the problem.
That should have been in the fine print, but it is what it is. It's still better than what I had before. So I'll focus.
Well, so, and that's fine, because I was telling, and that's what I've been saying, re-looking at what I've done prior, 2 years ago when I first got it, it was fine. Right, for what we did and what I did. But I do too much video. I do too much upload, download. And again, so I was talking about how I didn't get into the whole thing, but customer service is so important. And I was getting the runaround today. Well, you're in an advanced division. You can, so I put a thing in for them to call you. You can't transfer me. No, they're only out. And I'm like, okay, well, I spoke to my rep, who was my rep for the last 2 years, and left a message for, she's never called me back. Does she work for your, so it's that customer service. And I was saying how you should be looking as your company, re-look at how you're dealing with your clients, and really talk to your past clients. They're just as important. They're more important than your new clients, but we focus so much on getting new clients and not enough on our older clients. And I don't mean like age wise.
So I'm dealing with something similar to that in a totally different area, but the person that I'm working with called me and they're like, okay, well, I'm ready to talk now. I'm like, okay, well, I'm in the middle of something. Well, I don't have time again until next week. I'm like, wait a minute. If you're a professional, schedule it, right? And then, if I miss the appointment, totally fine. But if you call and just say, oh, I only have these few minutes. And I said, well, I'm in the middle of something. Okay, well, we'll have to talk next week. I'm like, well, then I guess we will have to talk next week. But where's the customer service side? Like, would you want to be on the inverse of how you're treating your customer, right? That's the big question. And this one was an interesting one. I'll tell you about it later on, but yes.
Well, I mean, and I was like, I was going to go forever today because you weren't going to be here, and I didn't want to, we were both having issues. But it's funny, but not funny, because I hate when we all say it's funny, but it's never been funny after whatever we say after that we say it's funny. Right. It's just, we don't focus enough on our processes, and we don't, we think we have a perfect process, but we should be looking at it monthly, constantly, right?
Well, that's the big question. We talk a lot about sales, but what people don't realize is sales is the entire life cycle of the customer. And what I mean is, it's easy to get somebody in the door, but you don't keep people if you don't provide good customer service after the fact, right? I mean, you can have the best salesperson in the world with a moderate product who will get people in your door, but if they're not taken care of after they're in that door, then they're never going to stay. And kind of another one we should do an episode on, since while you're talking about this, is misleading, testimonials, or when you're talking to customers. If you say you can do something and they find out later after they've bought your service that you can't do it, like in this one, we'll use the example we're talking about. Oh, gigabit speeds. Oh, well, that's only on, download. Well, if upload
in the very fine print on the site, it's like, we're 1 gigabyte download. Oh, that's great if I'm downloading video all the time.
Yes. If I'm, streaming YouTube all day long, great. Or if I'm watching movies, whatever, you name it, that's fine. But that's one of the things that it's okay to brag, but you need to have it very visible where your deficiency is also. So address it up front instead of people feel bait and switched after the fact. So,
right. Because I went across the congressman across from me. So who do you guys have? And they have the AT&T, and he goes, and he checked his speed. He was 150 and 150. Well, that's probably what they pay for, right? Because
Mhm.
it's a public office. Plus, they go through a VPN and all this other stuff. But I came across, I was interviewing a guy yesterday on my other podcast. Just joking with that part.
Yeah.
And I was checking him out, and he had this thing that says, best networking tip: you will fail if all you do is network.
Mhm.
Right. That's basically what a lot of people do all the time. I mean, if you just do video and you don't talk to people, do any transactions. I've asked some people, I always ask my clients when they come to me, how did you find me?
Mhm.
Right. And they tell me, and this last one said, I've been watching your videos on Facebook. I'm
Right.
like, oh, great. So not just the radio now, it's all the other stuff that's been working.
Sure.
And the reason, most of the time it's referred to me or, the radio show or, so those are the three places I get my stuff.
Yeah.
Not the benches on the streets.
No billboards of you in a bikini?
No, I was thinking, dude, get a billboard, but then the problem is you only get the people drive by it, right?
Yeah.
So,
I was just watching, what is it? I Love You, Man. That was on the other day where they do all the billboards. Well, you didn't think about it. So there's something when you were talking about that. Oh, networking. So yeah, I went to 2 networking events yesterday.
So we're jumping to subjects from customer service to networking.
No, you brought up networking.
I know.
It's like, right?
Well, because I was interviewing this guy. We had to cancel and reschedule because he's in Texas, and there was a rainstorm and he lost his internet.
That's one of the other reasons I moved away from the 5G one. But yes, it used to be horrible about when I think what he was saying is you can't only do networking. The 2 events went to yesterday came back with a bunch of cards, but a lot of people, that's what happens is they go in your pocket and they don't go into your CRM. They don't go into, how do you have a plan for follow-up once you network with someone? And that's a big question that people don't know what to do. It's easy to exchange cards and say, oh, okay, well, yeah, I'll get in touch with you. But do you have a plan or process of what to do with those cards? One of the guys that was there, I think you've met him before at Secret Knock. I don't know why I just drew a blank on his name. Yeah. Anyway, that's what he said is he has a process down. He gets the business cards. He immediately gives them to his assistant. She puts them into the CRM and what the follow-up is. So he gives her a little bit of information with it. But that's the big question is what do you do after you network? How do you plan to follow up? Is it going to be a bomb video to somebody? Do you, you and I were at TNC last year. And the big thing for a lot of people to do there was take a selfie with you and then send that. So they store you in their contact with your selfie. Right. So you know who the hell's calling you, texting you or whatever. But on the opposite side of that, if somebody gives you a business card, don't immediately throw them into your marketing collateral if you haven't had that conversation. Because I've had the inverse. I'm sure you have as well, where somebody's like, hey, can I get a business card? Next thing you know, you're getting spammed by their emails. It's kind of like, well, I don't really understand why.
Well, all of a sudden you're on some list and it's like, it's like everybody we know, if you've done anything with them, all of a sudden now you're on their list.
Yes.
The people, and all of a sudden, oh, by the way, we're doing this now. Do you love marketing as much as I love marketing?
One of the newest trends is if you sign up for the, somebody's running a webinar that's free or $49 for 3 days or whatever, and it lists all these speakers. Next thing you know, you're getting emails from all of those speakers.
Right. Well, because that's how they sell those things for free.
Yep. So
they want access to you, which I get it because most of us do a lot more than that. But back to your whole, what systems do you have in place to deal with clients? Because I was telling somebody, or actually talking to people on here about calling your past clients. People are like, what? Yeah. I mean, why aren't you calling them? Why aren't you? So for me, I'm all about the phone, right? I call them constantly. And that's how I get my business because I talk to them and I can hear if there's an issue or not. And if I don't get them, I just leave a message and move on.
Yeah.
I leave my phone number twice and then I do
who you are, what you want.
No, the biggest thing, if you're going to leave a message, they say leave it like 14 seconds or whatever. Don't longer put your phone number in the first few seconds so they don't have to listen to it twice.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right. What else are you talking about?
So that was all. I mean, the biggest thing is, relook at your customer service. There's nothing more that you can piss off a client than if you have bad customer service.
Oh, I went to call, and this is kind of related, but not. Went to call GoDaddy the other day because they sent me.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. 32-minute wait. And they didn't give an option for, can we call you back? So what do? I just hang up. And it's one of those things going, ooh, maybe I need to switch providers. if I need something, and they're the ones that send me, it says contact us, and then you do, and a 31-minute wait, which I love airlines, hotels where they have the, hey, this is the callback number we have. Do you want us to just call you back? Hell yes.
Right.
And of course, you're paranoid to leave your phone. You're like, was that them? Was that them?
Is it going to show up as a spam call?
Exactly. So now you got to answer all the other calls.
Right. Well, that was like they're like, we're going to have so-and-so call you the advance directive, it's not directive, but it's advance. Yeah. You're in the advance because of the system that you have, and they'll call you. Don't call us. We'll call you. Right. It's like, I don't want that. I want to deal with this now. You don't understand. It's, yes, I know no one's dying, but actually somebody is right now compared to with my video. I'm tired of the horrible video.
Well, if it's impacting your business, right? That's the whole thing. Is it a pain or is it a problem? Right?
It's a problem.
Pain, yeah, exactly. It's a problem if you can't record your radio show or your internet goes down, your entire building, your business is down. That's a problem. It's not a pain point like me having Verizon and coming in like max headroom. That's a pain, but it wasn't a problem. So,
what was the problem for me?
Yeah, I know. That's because you're a perfectionist, unlike me.
No, it's just, you know what? If you're going to do it right. Do it amazing. Do the best you can do. And that's how I look at things.
You've beaten it into me enough. I was getting ready to join, and I realized I had the Wi-Fi on. I'm like, let me go get the cable now because I got a new cable box. Let me plug in before I join.
Well, it's just so much easier and better if you do it, for people, for who's watching. It's much better to watch people talking than, it's
Yes. 100. Well, even the person I was just talking to, they use internet for their phone, and she thought, I said, I can't hear you. Well, this is the only time I have to talk today. Well, call me from your cell phone. I don't know what to tell you, but right now you're having a conversation I can't hear. So where do we go from here?
Right. Anyway, let's do video.
Yes. Let's hop on a Zoom. Ooh,
let's hop on a face.
That may be a good idea.
Or even just the FaceTime if she has an iPhone.
Yeah. No, I'm going to send them an email right now and just say Zoom.
I have somebody who I just signed up for, and we were supposed to get together. He keeps sending me emails to Zoom, and then he sent me a video the other day. In the beginning, he has a board that says, lending for living. We need connect. Right. It was pretty good. Got me to click on the video.
Right.
Right. And that's all it's about is get connected with your people. Get connected. Get, with the clients. Because you only have one bite at the apple these days.
Right.
And that's all. I mean, I didn't want to go too far in it because I was kind of irritated. So I didn't want to bitch the whole time. But
you were just lonely. I know. Then I shut up major days.
I was like, oh, but Brian's here.
It's too much time apart.
Yeah.
All right.
Having a conversation is better than having a talk too.
Oh yeah, when you were in Washington and it's one of those things you start talking. You're like, oh, how long have I been on for? Like 30 minutes? Oh no, it's been 7. Because you're so used, like you said, to having interaction, and that being twice the time. So it's kind of funny.
And so all I would tell, so the call to action today is relook at your customer service, how you deal with clients, how you talk to them, how, if you're not there, how does it go through the process? How do you get back to them? Because on my side, people want instantaneous to be connected right away.
Yes.
Right. And that depends on how they come to you. If they come to you through the internet, that's what they want. If they come from a referral or somebody else, it's not the same.
Right.
But yeah. And that's why I hate internet leads and I prefer referral business.
Hey, business is business, right? No.
Well, it is, but I did that for 6-8 months when I was practicing that other thing. And it was like, it was real busy calling people.
Yep.
But, and you'd get a few, but I prefer my other way of doing it.
Right.
Currently way of doing it.
Makes sense. But with what you're saying, it's not, even though we talk about sales, this really is the full life cycle of a customer. Because like you said, if you may sell them something, or you may get the initial business, but if you don't take care of them, you don't get referrals and you don't get their business again. And that's why you've talked before. Most of your clients are multiple. They come back to you for their second, third, fourth homes. Their kids get a home. Why? Because you took care of them through the entire thing. There's a lot of people, so many different areas, but there's been times when I've jumped on a call, with this person who we signed the initial deal with, and then they pass you off to somebody else who doesn't even know what the first person told you. And it's just like,
right. Well, and for me, and I was talking about, I think, I don't know if you're on the time, but I was talking about how we had assembly lines for when we were doing the refinances in 2020 and 2021, because we were doing so many of them.
Mhm.
So I would initially talk to them, then go to the next person, and then the next person, and then end up at the very end. But it was a way to get them all the way through the process. They only dealt with 2 people,
Mhm.
but it seemed like there was, and it was an easier way. Well, now we do more, I deal more up front, and then I tell them, hey, so and so is going to talk to you about this. I don't just pass them off.
Right.
You got to hand them off, a warm handoff.
100%, especially if you get into like where there's contracts. So there's a difference between like what was agreed to, what's in the contract, things morph in between the contract. What, did you modify the paperwork afterwards? There's so many different things that have to be kept on top of. And there was at one place I worked, a real breakdown between what was answered to in the document, what was the final contract, what was actually installed. There wasn't a cohesive place that you could go to see all that information. So if you went and looked up like what the original contract was when it was won, well, sometimes it would take a long time to install. So then the physical product that was there was actually different from what the initial response was, because technology changes. So what was responded to in the document or was in the contract, maybe that particular part isn't available anymore, so you install something else. Well, then the support people, they don't know where to go look. Do you go look at the original contract, the implementation documents, the tech support? Because even tech support, when they swapped out a part, didn't have a place to go and update a central location to say, oh, here's what's here now. And that creates a lot of confusion. So, that's why we talk about what's the entire journey. What are your standard operating procedures? How do you have a living document that tells you what's going on? Like for you, when somebody initially comes in, right, the interest rates may change or certain terms may change. How do you document and keep up with it for the final product, right?
Well, yeah, when we lock it, it's connected,
Yeah.
right? Until you
I,
lock it. And it's
there's
like
a,
I have some people that, and the problem these days is we're so volatile. We'll move so much in a minute,
yes.
right? Where before we were not for a year, not volatile at all. But in the past 8 months, we've been super volatile.
There's out here, and of course, this is just me as an innocent bystander reading the articles. A lot of people who locked in when they were building a home. Well, I guess, interest rates were X, but then when they actually were able to receive the home and start making payments, they couldn't afford the payments anymore. And so a
Yeah.
lot of people had to walk away depending on how long that period was.
But it wasn't always just the interest rate that they locked in. It was the fact that the house went up, or there's more costs in the house.
Right.
And so the builder came back and said, sorry, it's not going to cost you, as an example, it's not going to be this way. It's 500,000. Now it's 575 for this house. And they couldn't afford that. And that's the issue they run into. Yeah. And it's like I had some, and then a lot of times for people like me, when you go to builders, they have their own internal staff and they want to use them and they
Right.
give you money towards it. Well, I had some people yesterday who I've been working with and they're like, do you want to use the internal? Nope, not at all. We give you this. Don't care. We're using Ed. And I'm like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
I would
Said
do
that.
what's best for them if it was going to save them a bunch of money, but I know what this game is and how
Mhm.
that works.
And it's every industry does that. This was back in 2020 when I bought my last car. The interest rate was 0.99%. So not even, 1%. I'm like, hell yeah, I'll go with that one. And they're like, well, we can knock more off the car if you go through our finance. I'm like, well, what's your financing? 8%. I'm like, no,
But
let's
you can
do
always
simple
do
math.
that and then have it refinance with that 1
Yeah.
or whatever.
So,
Yeah.
but it's knowing what's best for the customer, like you said. And then, and I know I keep repeating myself today, but it's just the entire customer's journey, right? What do they go through from beginning to end? You have to know that, because if you're selling a product, the product can be fantastic. But if the support of that product or the implementation of that product is not good, that's going to ruin your reputation. And that's one of the, I think we haven't beat this enough, is in sales, a lot of times your reputation is all you have, because word gets around faster.
Your reputation is all you have in everything.
Yes. That's the whole thing. Is there comes to a point where you may not, hopefully, but there's people who have to make that decision of, I need to preserve my reputation. I have to leave what I'm doing. And it can be anything, doctor, lawyer, you name it. But because that is what you have, you're right. That's your reputation. And that's what follows you everywhere, no matter where you go. And that's why it's important to believe in what you're doing. And, because you can sell shitty products to anybody. but
Can you?
eventually the karma comes back. So
Yeah. Well, I think it's important because, like in our industry, like we want people to do it again, but there's some people who are not. They don't have a system in place. They don't understand what they're doing,
mhm.
and these people have the worst time of their life buying a house when it should be so easy and the best time to do it. So they want to do it again, and these people ruin it for them, and that's sad. And that's a sketch could be in any industry that you're doing. Make sure your process. Relook at it. Relook at how your people coming through your funnel or however you're looking at, constantly relook at all your stuff.
Mhm.
Just because it's perfect today and you've been working that way for the last 30 to 60 days does not mean it doesn't need to change.
Exactly. And the longer that somebody has to sign off on something, meaning uh, went and did a gym membership and it signed up for a year. I'm like, what if I hate it after a month? There's just anxiety that comes with long-term purchase. And everybody,
Commitment. People
when
don't
they
like
buy,
commitment.
yeah, sorry, commitment. But when you go to buy a house, what's the first thing people think of? 30-year mortgage. Oh my God, is this really? So anything you can do to help lessen their mental load by doing it right and helping them, like you said, make it an enjoyable process. Like explain up front what you're going to need, what it's going to take, let them know what's going to happen instead of getting them all excited. And then they're, oh, I need this. I need this. Like have a checklist, right? Oh, hey, you're going to have your last 2 paycheck stubs. You're going to have your last W-2. You're going to have
We do
whatever.
have checklists too.
See, no, I know you do, but there's
Yeah.
some people that don't, and then they surprise you with it.
I
Like,
even have a book that talks about it.
hey, really? Is that Get
Yeah.
Ed's book or is that Get Ted's book?
Yeah, well, no, it's called Financial Freedom Building Personal Wealth Through Home Ownership. But the most important thing I wanted to talk about today is relook at your systems, make sure they're in place,
Yes.
and talk to your past clients, please, and ask them, what did you like about what you went through, and what can I make better?
Right.
I'm taking over Rotary in 2 weeks. I'm the
Phones.
president, right? And I've been going to some of the past people that I know one was leaving and canceling. He's staying now. I said, what can we do better to make it a better thing? And he's like, well, from what I've been hearing that you want to do is make it fun again, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to make it great again together. And that's my slogan, making Rotary great again together. Yeah, some people might not like it, but great's a great word.
It happens. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, I go Wednesday nights and I'm like, oh, I got to go to Rotary. And I'm like, if I wasn't president, I probably would have quit because of how and it's not any knock on the past presidents. It's just not fun anymore.
There's
It's too
so many
systematic.
There's so many different organizations that really get new members who are spry and excited to be a part of it. And then when they feel like they can't make change and it's just, oh, well, that's the way we've always done it, those people drop off because it's like, well, I wanted to make an impact also. I'm here to follow the rules, but I want to help improve where I can. And if you can't be involved in that process and it becomes just a task versus something fun, that's why people drop out.
Mm-hmm. And that's all about. I'm like, I want to have fun like I did when I was sergeant at arms for, this. I told my co-host who's on my radio and other stuff, I said, this is what you're my sergeant at arms. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. And that's what I'm saying. Just relook at how your customer's journey is. I said it, you didn't have to, and make sure that it's an easy journey for them. And it's the best journey you've set up for. And always relook at, because you can't scale anything if you don't look at the stuff and have standard procedures in place.
You and I talked about before, it's crazy. You go across industries and realize how much this is there. So speaking to martial arts studio owners, they have processes for everything from the time somebody walks in the door to what are they signing up for, how do you involve them in the process. That they beat that into everyone that was at the mastermind is, if you don't have these, you will fail. Instead of trying to wing it. So what does that come back to again? Our favorite? It's kind of like a script.
Right? No, it is a script. Everything's a system.
Yes.
Have a systems in place, and that's you need to have that.
Agree.
What happens if this happens? I go here, because there's no way to scale your business if you don't have those things in place for somebody else to pick up and keep going.
I got my 6-year-old. What do we start her off on her bike? Training wheels. When she gets good enough, we take those off. She's gonna have to adjust over time. Yes. So you just modify. Training wheels come off, knee pads and elbow pads go on, right? So it's what's each step to get her there. Step 1, buy the bike. Step 2, get her comfortable with it. Step 3, get her riding it, and then kind of go from there.
Well, so we did step 1, bought the bike for my son, went to the top of the hill and says, you'll get it by the time you get to the bottom.
So buddy of mine did that with me with snowboarding. Never took I take that back. Took a half-day lesson, he's like, "Hey, you want to go up?" I'm like, "Sure." We get up there and I'm like, "So how do we get down?" He's like, "You'll figure it out."
Yeah,
Took
I
me a
took
while, but I
lessons.
eventually got there.
I did skiing without lessons, and then when I was in the Navy, I picked up snowboarding, or actually after the Navy, I picked up snowboarding and I took lessons because there's
Mhm.
no way I wanted to learn the way I learned skiing. Yeah.
I, I did a half day of both. Hated skiing, hated skiing. Just don't have strong enough leg strength. Snowboarding strapped me in, good to go. Fantastic.
All right. Well, Brian, thanks for being able to show up today. Appreciate it. Thanks for being
Yeah.
here. We really appreciate you watching and listening to us. Brian, anything you want to say before we go?
No, just best way you can support us, follow the show Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. Ed's time, which is really noon central. Right. Follow us on YouTube, everything else.
Subscribe. That's the easiest,
Subscribe.
best way to can do it. Support
That's
us
right.
the cheapest way, or send us some money if you want. I'm just kidding.
Right.
All right. Make it a great day. Thanks for being here, Brian.
Thanks.
And thank
Bye.
you for watching.